Older people keep saying the same thing. Nobody wants to work anymore. They say it like it's a moral failure, like an entire generation just woke up one day and decided that effort was beneath them. But that's not what happened. People still want to work. They just don't want to work like this anymore. There's a difference. And the gap between those two things explains almost everything about why your generation looks checked out from the outside. So let's actually talk about it. Not the lazy version, the real version. Because once you see how the deal was built, you can't unsee why it stopped making sense. Here's the thing about the 9 to 5. It was never a law of nature. It was a deal. The deal was simple. You give a company the best 8 hours of your day, 5 days a week, for most of your adult life. In return, you get stability, a wage that covers a house, a family, a car, maybe a vacation. Then at the end of it, a pension and a few decent years of retirement before you die. That was the trade. Your time now for security later. For a while, the trade actually worked. Your grandparents took it and got a house on one income. Your parents took it and got most of the way there. So they passed the same advice down to you. Work hard, keep your head down, stay loyal, and the system takes care of you. The problem is that they handed you the advice without checking whether the deal was still on the table. It isn't. The company kept asking for the 8 hours. It just quietly stopped paying the other side of the bargain. Let's put real numbers on it, because this is where it stops being a feeling and starts being arithmetic. Since the 1970s, worker productivity in this country has roughly doubled. People are producing more value per hour than ever in history. But wages, adjusted for inflation, have barely moved. So you have an entire workforce producing twice as much and taking home almost the same slice. The gap between what you make and what you produce didn't disappear. It went somewhere. It went up. Now look at the cost side. The price of a house compared to the average income used to be around 3 to 1. 3 years of salary for a home. Now in a lot of cities, it's 8 to 1, 10 to 1, higher. Rent eats a third or half of your paycheck before you've bought a single thing. Tuition, healthcare, childcare, all of it climbing faster than the wage that's supposed to cover it. So here's the position you're actually in. You're working a full-time job, doing everything right, and the basic life that used to be the reward for that job is now priced like a luxury. The 9 to 5 used to buy a future. Now it barely buys the present. Here's the part that really breaks the loyalty. The fastest way to get a raise is to leave. Staying at one company gets you a 2 or 3% bump if you're lucky, which inflation eats anyway. Switching jobs gets you 10, 20, sometimes more. The system is literally punishing the loyalty it keeps demanding from you. A lot of people think the resistance is about effort. It isn't. Most people I know will work hard at something that feels real. What they're tired of is the theater. Think about how much of a 9 to 5 has nothing to do with the actual job. You commute an hour each way, unpaid, just to sit in a building. You stretch 3 hours of real work across 8 hours because being seen at your desk matters more than being done. You sit in meetings that should have been a message. You ask permission to see a doctor. You perform busyness for a manager who's performing it for their manager. The work was never the problem. The performance around the work is the problem. People will pour themselves into something that matters. What drains them is spending the best decade of their life pretending to be busy under fluorescent lights, so a system can feel in control of their time. Then the pandemic ripped the curtain down. For 2 years, millions of people did the same jobs from their kitchen table, and the world didn't end. The output was the same, which meant the commute, the office, the 9 to 5 box, all of it was optional the whole time. You can't show someone the door was unlocked and then act surprised when they don't want to sit back in the cell. Here's the line that gets sold to you on day one. We're like a family here. It sounds warm. It's also the most dishonest sentence in the building. Because the second the quarter looks bad, the family becomes a spreadsheet. Layoffs come in waves, decided by people who have never met you, announced in a calendar invite titled something vague. The same company that asked for your loyalty, your weekends, your availability at 9 at night will let you go by email and have your laptop deactivated before you finish reading it. Your generation watched this happen. You watch parents give 20 years to a company and get walked out with a cardboard box. You watched friends get hired in a splashy announcement and quietly cut 6 months later. So when a job asks you to bleed for it, to go above and beyond, to treat it like family, you do the math instantly. The loyalty only runs one direction. Why would you give everything to something that has already shown you it will give you nothing back the moment it's convenient? That's not laziness. That's pattern recognition. There's a cost to all of this that doesn't show up on a pay stub, and it's the one people feel the most. The 9 to 5, the way it's built now, quietly takes the best hours of your best years. Think about the actual shape of the day. You wake up tired. You spend the freshest, sharpest part of your morning getting ready for someone else. You give the company your peak energy from 9 to 5. Then you come home drained, with just enough left to microwave dinner and stare at a screen until you fall asleep and do it again. The good hours go to the job. The leftover scraps go to your own life, your relationships, the things you actually care about. Stretch that across a decade, and it adds up to something heavy. People hit 35 and realize they spent 10 years giving their attention to spreadsheets they won't remember. While the hobbies died, the friendships thinned out, the body stopped feeling young. Nobody warns you that burnout isn't dramatic. It's slow. It's a low hum of exhaustion that you start to think is just your personality. So when someone your age says they don't want this, they're not saying they're afraid of effort. They're saying they don't want to trade the only youth they get for a paycheck that doesn't even cover a house. Once you say it that plainly, it stops sounding like entitlement and starts sounding like the only sane response. There's one more thing that changed, and it might be the biggest. You can see out. Your grandparents didn't really know what other lives were possible. The reference points were the neighbors, the people at church, the guys at the plant. Everyone was running roughly the same race, so the race felt like the whole world. Now you have a screen in your pocket showing you every alternative at once. People who quit and travel, people who built something online, people who work 4 hours a day, people in other countries with healthcare and 6 weeks of vacation and a shorter week. Some of it is fake, and we'll get to that. But some of it is real, and once you've seen a real alternative, the default stops feeling like the only option and starts feeling like a choice you didn't actually make. That's what's underneath the whole mood. It's not that the 9 to 5 got worse than it used to be in some single dramatic way. It's that for the first time you can compare it to everything else, and it stopped looking like destiny. The comparison also holds up because the alternatives aren't just fantasy. Look at the places that ran real experiments. Companies, and even whole countries, have tested a 4-day week, same pay, and the results keep coming back the same. Output stays flat or goes up. Burnout drops. People are happier, and they don't quit. Which means the 5-day 40-hour week was never some sacred unit of productivity. It was a number somebody picked 100 years ago for factory work, and we just never updated it. So your generation isn't inventing a complaint out of thin air. You're looking at hard evidence that the same work can be done in less time, for the same money, without wrecking the person doing it. Once you know that, sitting in a chair until 5 just to prove you were there feels less like a job requirement and more like a ritual nobody can justify anymore. Now here's where I have to be honest with you, because the lazy version of this video ends here with quit your job and follow your dreams. That's garbage advice. And deep down you know it. Most of the exits being sold to you are traps. The dropshipping course. The crypto that's definitely going to make it this time. The guy renting a Lamborghini to sell you a class on how to make money selling classes. The fantasy that you'll post 3 videos and become an influencer with passive income. For every person that worked for, there are 10,000 who burned their savings and their time chasing it. So the honest answer is not that the 9 to 5 is evil and you should run. The honest answer is more uncomfortable than that. The job is not your enemy, and it's also not your future. It's a tool. The mistake is treating it as the whole plan instead of the thing that funds the plan. So here's what I'd actually tell you to do, knowing everything we just covered. Stop trying to win the job and start trying to build leverage. Leverage is anything that keeps earning when you stop trading hours for dollars, a skill that's rare and in demand. An audience, even a small one. Side income that doesn't need your boss to approve it, something you own instead of something you rent your time to. Use the job for what it's actually good for. It's a stable paycheck and a place to learn skills on someone else's payroll. Take the stability, take the skills, then quietly, on your own time, build the thing that one day makes the job optional, not a fantasy. A second income that starts at $50 a month and grows, a skill that doubles what you can charge. One asset that's yours. The people who escape the 9 to 5 in a real way almost never do it by quitting in a blaze of glory. They do it boringly. They keep the paycheck, build the exit on the side for a year or two, and walk out only when the math finally works. Less dramatic, way more likely to actually happen. So, no, it's not that nobody wants to work anymore. It's that a whole generation looked at a deal, did the arithmetic, and realized the numbers stopped adding up a long time ago. They're not refusing to play. They're refusing to pretend the game is fair while they quietly build a better one. You're not lazy for wanting more than this. You're just the first generation that can see clearly enough to ask for it. So don't check out. Don't burn it down either. Build leverage, stay patient, and stop giving your best years to something that already showed you exactly how little it would give back. Late is fine, slow is fine. Just make sure you're building something that's actually yours.